What is going on, people? Long time no see. It is Thursday. It's not full field read Friday, but we are here on a Thursday night. How's everybody doing? We're talking about last Thursday's game against the New Orleans Saints. Robbie Davis, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm super pumped to, break this game down. It was a really nice performance from them. Really nice performance. One of the only ones that we've gotten this season. So I think there's going to be a lot for us to talk about.
It's hilarious. Like this felt like, and I think we've kind of mentioned this before. Where I mean, last year I think the Packers game was a good example where sometimes Sean Payton just lets loose the bag of tricks, and this one was a great example where I mean we'll get into it. The quarterback run game was being utilized a lot. Some of the passing concepts we haven't gotten to see all season. Some of the play action footwork or some of the play action drops they were doing with like one of the orbit motion play action plays. Haven't seen them use all season. A lot of constraint plays based off of things they've been running a lot. So it was a really fun game to get to see. I think Sean Payton let it happen against a really good team. It is obviously, the storylines he's returning to New Orleans. It makes a lot of sense. He's going to do it against this team. Hopefully, this isn't the only time we see him get deep into this bag of tricks. But yeah, no, it was an exciting game overall. And yeah, what did you think about the performance from? It was good to see Mike McGlinchey back. What did you think about Mike in his first game?
He was really good. He was really good, man. And, he catches a lot of flack for his play on the field, but so much of this offense, it seems like they want to run it through him. Like we saw it with his first game back Thursday against the Saints, which we're going to talk about, man. Just like the entire ground game, it felt like was through him and was not solely a product of him, but he had a lot to do with the success they were able to have on the ground. He's a very good player, man. And I feel like a lot of fans don't necessarily not understand, but fully grasp offensive lines throughout the entire league. Like it is a pretty year in, year out, even in their best season, like when depth wise throughout the entire league, it's still a scarce position. Like very rarely do we see teams have good units, all five positions. It's very rare. And, McGlinchey, even in San Francisco, was seen as a weak link a lot of the time, but he's a very valuable player.
Yeah, no, what he opens up in the run game is massive. His athleticism is crazy. Seeing him and Quinn both on that right side together, being able to just get downfield, is one of my favorite things to get to watch, and we saw it get to happen a lot in this game. We also saw Alex Forsyth get his first start at center. We'll get into some of his reps. I think he had a up and down game, but I think the ups were exciting, and I think a lot of the downs are kind of things we'd expect out of a young center, kind of coming into a game like this. But yeah, I don't think we have. Do you have any more thoughts before we kind of dive into it here?
No, sir.
Alrighty, let's get into the first play here. Then we're actually looking at the first offensive snap. For anyone who's wondering too, we're only doing offense today. There were a lot of plays in this game, and it's honestly one of those things where I think we kind of did see a lot of things the fans I think were complaining about through a lot of the first 7 weeks. We actually saw Sean Payton kind of turn the page on some of these things. We saw him kind of go more up tempo throughout the game. We saw him utilize more of a passing script to start the game to try to get Bo in rhythm. And we'll see kind of the results of that, whether it worked or it didn't. But I think we kind of saw him kind of show that he is able to kind of recognize the adjustments that he needs to make, and that's pretty exciting. But without further ado, let's get into this first clip here. Let me get this hind bat out of the way. So right here, we're just opening up with the same play that they ran against the Buccaneers, where we're just going to have the two streaks on the outside. We're just going to run the crosser over the middle here. And the only reason I noted this one was because, and this was another one where this is an okay play. This is a fine play, but this is another one of those examples where I think we're seeing Nick's a little bit too often just get frantic when he doesn't need to and kind of try to create in chaos mode, which at this point in his career is working very well for him. But this is one of those things where, man, like there's honestly a couple options here. You probably don't want to take Franklin. He's definitely shaded, but you can try to work this crosser over the middle. You can try to work. I think we got the choice route here from Kroll. I think that's what this was. Or am I tripping? No, he just had the block and release on the out. Like, I think there are options here to do what we've kind of talked about a lot throughout the season, which, hey, man, you got to play quarterback sometimes and be able to work these pockets. Just take a shuffle upfield and try to work one of these passes because this safety's bailing. Man, this would be a nice play to open up the game. A 14-yard scramble, though, is obviously completely fine. But, yeah, that was pretty much my only note on that one. I think I also wanted to say that Valet had a nice release on this as well.
Yeah, I mean, Knicks has a lot of plays like this where in the scope of the single game, it's a good play. And,
Yep.
it's nice to see his athleticism, something that Sean Payton said in a presser recently, that he's a lot faster coming out of college than anybody anticipated, which is true. Like, the athleticism in the running game has really been something to lean on for Knicks. But so many times we see a play where in the scope of that single game, it's a nice play, but just for his development, you'd really like to see him work that pocket a little bit more and work that first read. The boundary side safety was coming down to kind of poach that crosser, but with the vertical route outside, he had to get over top of that. So then there was really a window to hit that crosser. And again, it would just be nice to see him work these plays in structure, but at the same time, again, a 14-yard scramble isn't necessarily a bad play.
Right.
You would just like to see him work in structure more than he has to this point.
And this is the one I wanted to point out too, where Cam Jordan, like, and this is me trying to beat up on Cam Jordan. Cam Jordan is fantastic. One of my favorite players I've gotten to watch in my lifetime, actually, just because he's been in the league for most of the time that I've been watching football. Cam Jordan got a little bit bullied in this game and got a little bit straight up attacked, like especially in the run game. But I mean, right here we got Mike dumping him a little bit. We've been watching players slip all over the field the entire season. Seems like every single game I'm watching 4 or 5 plays where dudes are just, literally just losing their footing. But yeah, this is a really good pocket right here. And again, you're completely fine with the scramble, but it's just one of those examples where as we get into, year 2, 3, 4, these need to be worked pockets once in a while, more often than not, I would say, because you just while this is fine, it's hard to build a consistent offense around a lot of this stuff. But yeah, a fine play to open up the game. And again, I mean, that's a 1st and 10 play and the first play to start an offensive series. So yeah.
Exactly.
The other note I have here, I don't know if I actually wrote down or we actually go into this play, but I was really excited to get to see the Marvin Mims backfield stuff. I know you like that stuff a lot. Explain why you think that can be such an interesting wrinkle.
I mean, they've shown it a lot on tape this game against the Saints, and I really hope it's something they expand on because a lot of people call for the creativity, and that's something that a lot of play callers around the league are doing lately. It's something that Sean McVay really popularized with Cooper Kupp in the backfield. It's just a matchup weapon. They don't really have that guy in the backfield who can really be a matchup nightmare for backers in these nickel safety or nickel corners and these safeties. They don't have that. So they have to find that somewhere. And with a receiver like Mims, where, he's somewhat struggling to find his route tree, he's somewhat struggling to find his game. Still early. I'm not saying that's an indictment on the player. It's normal. He's a 2nd-round pick in his 2nd year. It's normal. But with a guy like him who's sort of struggling, it'd be nice to get him in the backfield and kind of work these more developing yak routes that you want him to develop into against some of these linebackers and against some of these safeties. And with the looks that they've put on tape, I think this can be a real weapon in the red zone where they're struggling.
Yeah, 100%. No, and I just wanted to kind of emphasize the point you're making. One of the reasons that, I wasn't super advocating for it, but I wouldn't have hated if they did it for a move like getting an Alvin Kamara. Sean Payton loves to have these guys out of the backfield run routes, really have a diverse route tree to kind of cook up these linebackers, cook up these safeties, like we've talked about it. They don't really need weapons on the outside as much as outside weapons would help. They need tight ends, slot receivers, and running backs because that's who gets the targets in this offense. So having a guy like Marvin Mims, who, again, and a lot of the ways they used him in this game was just to open up lanes in the run game, which Sean Payton has been masterful at this season. He has made so many linebackers look silly this season. And again, it's not like these are bad players. Like it's Demario Davis in this game, who's been a pretty solid linebacker throughout his entire career. But there are just multiple times this game where, because of what Sean Payton is, how much eye candy he's putting on a lot of these defenses. I mean, you've highlighted it so much. His motion usage in the run game has been fantastic. That having a guy like Marvin Mims to run these orbit motions, look like he's running these swings out of the backfield, stuff like that, it gets these guys, moving, or it gets these defenders shifted quickly because they have to make a decision when you've got a guy with that type of speed.
100%. And again, I really hope they expand and open it up a little bit more because that can really transcend a red zone offense. Like everybody across the league has been doing it lately, especially in the red zone. Not so much this year, which would be an interesting thing to dive in and see why they aren't doing it as much this year. But for the past 3-4 seasons, for sure, so many teams are doing that in the red zone.
Right. All right. Getting into play number 2 here. I didn't actually see what the down was on this one. I think it was a 3rd down. No, it's 2nd and 8. This was our first, we were both very excited when we saw this play live on the broadcast. It's because, again, we're just getting to see more usage of this pistol formation. And yeah, it's just a thing of beauty here. So here it honestly, the way they kind of set this up, they've been kind of running this split zone all season where they kind of have this guy coming across the formation. He's kind of, acting as just he's going to let this guy run upfield. We're going to have Mike Burton kind of take Cam Jordan. And you kind of see Cam Jordan is getting ready here to take on this puller. Like he fully expects that he's about to get hit. And then it's like, oh shit, we're actually running an option with this. And now we got Mike Burton running away. This is a beautiful play design. And I was really glad to get to see this not only used on this play, but we saw it brought back a couple of times throughout this game.
Yeah. And again, just like the Mims in the backfield stuff, pistol is a very advantageous formation to run. And the reason for that is, especially with rookie quarterbacks, because we talked about it last episode where Nix is sort of struggling when it comes to these under center play actions, these hard under center play actions, because with the league that they're playing in today, with the defenses that are shifting at the snap and they're rotating so many different guys, going under center and doing that hard play action and turning your back to the defense can really make life tough for a quarterback. And when you're in pistol and you work this kind of footwork, you're getting the same effects from those under center play action snaps. You're working the same stuff. You're getting to the same concepts, but Nix only has to do this little half turn and he's not turning his back all the way to the defense. So it's just another thing to kind of, really help him and iron out some of these struggles early on in the season. And not only those passing concepts, but like we're seeing here, it's a real weapon in the running game, and especially the quarterback running game. You'll see any running quarterback in the league, they run a lot of pistol. And because of how difficult it is for defenses to defend against this.
Yeah. No, and the other thing I wanted to highlight as well, and I mean, this is going to, this is kind of a small point, but this is a point to be made. Bo Nix's decision-making on these options and RPOs throughout the season has been very good. And I know it is kind of, it's a right-wrong decision. It's 50-50 or, whatever I'm trying to say. There's only two options to be able to be made here. But every single time we're seeing him do a consistently good job of reading out these defenders properly, which, again, you see Cam Jordan crashing down here. He knows he's able to pull this and take it downfield. I also wanted to – sorry, I'll get into that point in a second. But he's just done a very good job, and we saw it again in this game, especially when they got into a lot of the actual, pass option stuff. He's been reading this stuff very consistently, and I do think that is a sign where, again – while the footwork stuff, and we've been a little frustrated about some of the misses in the passing game when it comes to kind of working a little bit more through these progressions, I don't think I don't think he's mentally not there, because I think we see consistently throughout these games, especially since weeks, 2, 3, the decision-making really hasn't been that bad. Is he passing up some passes? Yeah, that's probably a problem we need to work on. Sure. But is he objectively making the wrong decision a lot of times? No. And I do think that is something that you can be a little bit encouraged by. And then I also wanted to highlight, look at the movement we're getting here from both of these double teams. Alex Forsythe was a really good, impactful blocker in the running game. And I think that's something that they can build upon going forward. Who would you pick between four? It's one game, very small sample size. I don't want to act like, one of them is definitively better than the other. Who would you prefer to go with after one game of Forsythe versus Watt?
I think we got to see a little bit more, but at this point, I think I'm leaning towards Forsythe. He's a little bit, I don't want to say better because of the small sample size, but a little bit cleaner with his technique in the run game, and we're seeing the dividends it can pay off. I mean, even on just this play here, he's working that cross shove with Miners, and then he's working up to Demario Davis. And that's something that we saw Wattenberg kind of struggle with a little bit. Too many times we saw him on the ground when we were watching some of these run game clips. And I want to say I'm slightly leaning towards Forsythe.
I completely agree. And I mean, again, it's nothing against Wattenberg, because I think Wattenberg is the better pass protecting center. But I think right now, again, from what we're seeing, this offense needs to be, and as they've been built to be for 2 straight off seasons, as we've, talked about to death, this team wants to run the ball. And while, again, I think what you said is completely accurate about, again, some of his technique, what I think is really good about Forsythe too, you just see a willingness to go out there and block somebody, truly. Pat, it's, they always say pass pro isn't passive. Blocking in general is not passive. And I think sometimes, again, we'd see Wattenberg struggle to get to these second level blocks. And again, is he absolutely locking down Demario Davis here? No, but there are a lot of plays where he is able to get at least a punch on a guy. And just getting that little, opening is a big thing, especially when we've got backs like Jaleel or Javonte who are able to, at the moment, hit these holes with a little bit of energy. And, man, if you're able to do that and open up a little bit of a lane from your center, that's good stuff. And we've seen some flashes of his athleticism, too.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree.
Yeah. Alrighty. And then I also, let's see, I just wanted to look at this Brian Breesy getting bodied again. But yeah, poor Cam Jordan. Cam Jordan and Levante David. That's the real Sean Payton revenge tour. He's just going back to all the defenders he's like seen throughout his career in the NFC South. He's like, I remember you. You're a little older now, huh? So am I. But my game doesn't age, baby. Oh, that's fantastic.
He definitely had to feel bad for some of the things he was doing to Cam that game.
Cam's gonna be. I can't wait till Cam is. This sounds so mean. I have to finish it. I can't wait till Cam's in the booth. But I don't mean that like I can't wait till Cam's done playing. I'm just like, throughout his career, he breathes liars. He's like the hilarious guy to get to listen to. I think he already does some appearances on like Thursday Night Football. Maybe it's the Manning cast, but whatever. Next one here. This one was brutal to watch in real time. It's brutal on the film. I'm sorry, everybody.
Yeah. I mean, this was a lot of people's play of the game. We saw this. They won, what was it, 33-10, whatever it was. And this was the only play that was replayed after that game. I mean, it's just so frustrating. It really is frustrating because there's way too many examples on his tape of these pockets where he just gets frantic and he doesn't have to. Like, that's more than an NFL pocket. That's a pocket that he was seeing at Oregon, like through and through. And it sucks because I tweeted this out and I got a little bit of backlash for it. But like when he gets to a clean base, Nix does not have these accuracy problems. So that kind of leads me to say that Nix doesn't have a general accuracy problem. It's just more of getting to a clean base. Like his footwork on some of these throws is just completely.
It's laughable.
It's
straight
disgusting.
up laughable.
It's disgusting.
Like, this was one I wanted to highlight. This was the one I was talking about with Marvin Mims kind of getting a little bit of drop back usage. So again, this is probably a different play action drop than he's used to running. That being said, my God, man. My God, look at this. He's standing fucking just literally squared up to where he's trying to throw the ball. Gets more square. And I don't know shit about mechanics, but I can tell you right now, that's an ugly pass. That's your uncle after 6 beers at Thanksgiving. He's overthrowing your cousin in the end zone, and then he's yelling at him. He's going to get screamed at on the ride home. It's an ugly Thanksgiving. You don't want to be at that Thanksgiving. Bo Nix, stop being at that Thanksgiving.
It sucks, man, because again, when he gets to those clean bases, we start to see that accuracy that we saw at Oregon, and it's like it's what makes me not sort of be all doom and gloom when it comes to Nix, because this, and I want to preface this by saying it's not an easy fix. It's not something that you can just snap your fingers and it's going to be fixed, but it's an easier fix than a quarterback who had just a general accuracy problem. Like when he's getting to these clean bases, he's still missing the target, and that's not Nix. So it eases my mind a little bit that these issues are only stemming from an inaccurate and an off base throwing base. But again, it's just so frustrating to watch.
What do you like? Not to, obviously this is all conjecture. What do you think like happens here truly? Like, do you think this is one where he's like hitching to Franklin and then tries to hit Kroll? Like, is there any like, or is this truly just like he just flubbed the shit out of his mechanics? Because like it's just such a weird play. Because like, dude, like again, there's two guys wide ass open, and like, say what you want about Bo Nix, like the guy is not just like actually just like dog shit. Like this is a shockingly bad throw, and he had a couple of these in this game where it's just kind of like, I don't know what's happening, because again, as you said, this pocket is fucking gorgeous, and they had so many of these in this game and throughout the season. Zach Streif, you're doing work out there, my guy. You're doing absolute beautiful. You're doing the Lord's work. Oh my God! But yeah, this one can't have it. Can't have many more of these this season. No. Or I will cry. Kroll, I'll be honest, and I've been a little bit, I liked Adkins over Kroll in the preseason. Now it seems like Kroll has surpassed Dulcich. Kroll kind of looked all right in this game. He can get off the line. I'll say that. Like he might, and I mean, again, we've kind of Patrick's highlighted quite a bit. The receivers on this team, they're a little inconsistent with how aggressive they are getting off the line of scrimmage. Lucas Kroll in this game was really flying off the ball, and it was pretty exciting to see because, again, on plays like this, we'll look at the seam beater later. There was a play where he was split out where I made note of it. Like, he's getting himself downfield and open on a lot of these intermediate and deep passing concepts. And, again, when we've got Bo Nix, who's kind of, I'd say, struggling a little bit to properly pace himself on a lot of these progressions. He's a tick fast, which, again, when we've got receivers that are probably a tick slow, it's tough. That's a tough combination to have. It's why a lot of this stuff is getting missed. or having a guy like Kroll, who it seems like he's not a tick slow right now. We're getting off the line. We're working our way through traffic. We're getting to our spots. It's good to see. But again, we need to actually throw him accurate passes, and that was not one of them.
Yeah, I mean, he was serviceable, and that's pretty big for what this offense needs, and for what we thought coming into the year. Because this tight end room, still, even with what Kroll showed, it's brutal, man.
It's brutal.
I don't think it's arguable at all that this is the worst tight end room in the league. Like going into the season, their most anticipated threat in that room is a healthy scratch every week now. Like, it's real bad. It's real bad.
What the world we're living in. And it's tough too. And again, like, I'm not trying to be all doom and gloom. Like, the thing that's, again, tough about the tight end position group as a whole, and one thing that I think the draft people, me myself, have kind of been upset about when there's been these really good tight end classes, like there were, I believe, 2021, and I think last year or maybe it was 2022. There have been a couple tight end classes that have had like 8 guys on day 2 and day 3 that it's like, man, just grab one of these guys, because tight end is not a position. Like, you have to learn 2 jobs. You have to learn routes. You have to learn, a lot of that shit. And then you also have to learn how to block like an offensive lineman and learn a lot of the keys and protection and pass protection and stuff like that, where it's like, it is not a job where you're kind of excited to just chuck a rookie in there and give him however many snaps. It usually doesn't work out unless you have a really top tier prospect. Like, again, everyone sees Brock Bowers popping off right now. Guys, Brock Bowers was always a very unique prospect and a very good prospect. Like, it's not too much of a shock that Brock Bowers is doing this. That is not an example that should have you saying, oh man, let's just take a tight end with the 75th picks next year. He's going to be as good as Brock Bowers is. No, it is a position where, again, you'd like to have a guy in that year 2, year 3, year 4 kind of start to really put it together, as we see happen very often in today's NFL. Again, I know seeing guys like Laporta and Kyle Pitts' season kind of maybe sway that for people a little bit. But again, those are kind of the outliers. I think, again, what we see out of the standard is these guys take a while to come online, and Denver really hasn't invested in it. So now they're kind of in a position where I think they will probably have to double dip at tight end this offseason.
Yeah. Tight end is historically probably one of the slower positions in the league when it comes to their development. So I think everything that you said was 100% correct.
Yeah. This one was another, like, I don't know, man. This one was so tough because I felt like I was really nitpicking, but the footwork from the end zone angle is so bad that I didn't feel like I was nitpicking. But this is just one where, like, again, we've got a hot option and we've got to be able to get to it way faster than we are. Maybe Troutman takes a tick long to get out of his release, but, like, I don't really think so, man. That's a pretty easy chip and release. You should already be like, all right, unless he's worried this guy's, 94 is dropping here, which it looks like a pretty standard stunt. I don't know. But the footwork here was the only thing I wanted to make a note of, where, again, this was probably the most objective, where you just see count the footsteps he makes. And again, this is a blitz, and people are probably going to always be like, of course, look at his pocket. Yes, I get it. But being an NFL quarterback means you need to be able to work with some of this stuff sometimes. Teams are going to blitz you on 3rd down. Yeah. How are you going to handle it? We're going to give you options. You need to be able to get to them. And as right here, we've got a wide-ass open option, man. This is a 1st down. This might be a 40-yard gain. Like, I didn't take a long time to look at it from the sideline angle, but, like, it was complete man. Kool-Aid McKinstry is the guy that's supposed to be on Troutman, and I think whatever. This is a wide open play and should be a massive gainer, but again, we just see, oh God, everything's scary, blah, 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 and now we're throwing shit. Like, look at this drop right here. 1, 2. Okay, now we're over here. Blah, 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 blah. It's not good. It's not good shit. And this was also another one where he's kind of doing the Madden thing, and some quarterbacks can get away with this. And this is an example where, again, I think Bo Nix has a fine arm to be a starter in the league, but this is where he doesn't have like a Josh Allen type arm where he can fade 10 yards back, throw off his back foot, and he'll still have plenty of RPM to get the ball where it needs to go. You're not Justin Herbert, buddy. You cannot drop this deep into the pocket, try to throw off your back foot like this, and expect to have good results. It's just not going to work out. I know he might have gotten used to playing like that way in college, but this is just things that, again, these are not habits you want to be building up, and teams are going to be able to work around this if they know, like, hey, if this guy gets any form of, a flash of color in the pocket, a free runner even thinking about going at him, it's just going to all fall apart.
Yeah, and again, This is probably the third time just these first 5 or so plays that we've talked about it. There's the good with Knicks, and then there's the bad, and they come together, and the bad outweighs the good because we're starting off the play. Knicks reads that there's mugged up linebackers. He reads that he's going to be hot, so he gets the offense in the right look. This is a perfect look to be in against pressure like this. So there, great job. He's taking command at the line of scrimmage, and he's getting the offense into the right look. But you have to know you're hot here, and you have to stand tall and get the ball out to your hot option and get it out in front of him so he can beat that blitz. You have to replace the blitz with the throw, and it just doesn't happen here. You get the heel clicks in the pocket, you get him running around frantic again, he tries to all arm the throw, and it just doesn't come together.
Yeah. So again, like, and are these things that we're saying are fixable? No. These are things that we might get to see worked on, but these are things when we talk about like the great NFL quarterbacks, the true like above average, top 12, however you want to label them. They're the quarterbacks that are like Geno Smith is making these plays left and right. Teams aren't blitzing Geno Smith because they know, oh shit, if we leave a fucking hot option wide open, Geno's standing here and fucking ripping this thing. Like, there's no shot about it. There's just foot planted. We're putting this right here. I might take the shot, but then they're taking a penalty, So, and that sounds like I'm really gassing up Geno Smith. I like Geno Smith quite a bit. But, yeah, that's just pretty much what I'm going to say for, like, you got to be able to work within some of these muddier pockets. And as we'll point out, I know people are probably going to be like, oh, that was one where Powers got beat so fat. Yeah, I completely understand. But what I'm saying is, as we point out, there's been a lot of plays where he's getting golden pockets. He's getting mad in pockets against, rookie. And if we're seeing that man – he's struggling in both. Fuck. It's a little scary.
It really is. It is. And I think there is a lot of room for concern. And I want to, really say that having that concern does not mean that you're out on the player. This is what we all were expecting with a rookie quarterback, a guy to come in and have his ups and downs. And analyzing that objectively does not mean that we're out on the player, we're harping on the player. It doesn't mean any of that at all.
No, I'm honestly like, we're here. I'm excited to watch the rest of the season. Like, there's like, again, I don't know if there is anyone who's saying, probably no one's saying this, but I hope no one starts if Knicks has like a bad game or two, like back to back, that we really get into the like we need to bench him. Like, no, we need to get a full sample slate because again, I think as we're seeing and as I think we kind of talked about, the offense is going to improve throughout the year just by the sheer fact that Sean and Bo are going to get more comfortable calling. Sean is going to get more comfortable calling plays for Bo. Bo is going to get more comfortable in the offense. The entire infrastructure around him is going to get a little bit more experienced in what they're trying to do. Like, I don't think that this offense is capped out in the slightest. It's kind of, and again, like, it's so funny kind of watching Bo and hearing, a lot of the, sorry, random little.
No, you're good.
But like, the ceiling topic is something that's always a very hot discussion in any quarterback discourse, whether it's pre-draft, whether it's once they get to the league, whatever. And it's always very interesting, especially in today's day and age where we're watching Jared Goff be probably one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Like, Jared Goff's trajectory, and Jared Goff was always a good quarterback. Like, Jared Goff was never like, he got, I think, kind of labeled like a lot of the mid-tier a little bit unfairly because it's like, whoa. Like, this guy was, this guy can still do some things in your offense. And yes, he is playing much better football, but it is a perfect example where, guys, humans continue to get better at things when they do them. And man, like, if you have a guy like, if we can watch a guy like Jared Goff, and again, this probably just sounds like a ton of copium for Bo Nix, but get more comfortable in a Ben Johnson offense to the point where right now I'm sitting here, I'm like, shit, man. Is he a top 8 quarterback? Top 6? Maybe. It's hard to argue against it when he's executing it to as high of a level as he is. He's beating blitz and non-blitz. He's beating man. He's beating zone. Every year he is high up in all these stats and ratings, whatever. Like, and at the end of the day, we can be like, oh, he's got the best, whatever in football, whatever. Guys, that's sports. Like, there's going to be good players on the field. You hope to have good coaches. Denver, I think, as we point out week after week after week, has one of those really good offensive coaches. Like, as the numbers keep showing, the motion versus non-motion success rate, which is a small sample size. But again, so many things we point out, like, I'm a firm believer, and I think a lot of people can't think that. I still think Sean is on the very cutting edge of what the league is trying to do. Again, we watched Sean really try to pivot this team to this power run offense last year. Guys, guess what is the fucking thing right now? Teams just running the shit out of the ball. Like, He's always been ahead of this stuff. Guess what's kind of falling out of fashion this year? Motion. It's not as successful because defenses are finding answers for it. Oh, well, Sean Payton's not using that much motion already. Well, look at that. Like, whatever. So, yeah, I think we need to kind of be a little bit like, it's tough because, yes, there is probably a level of Bo Nix is close to his potential, his ceiling, whatever. But we also do need to understand that, man, there is the chance, too, that you just play a year or two in the system, you keep learning these reads. Again, as we point out, it's not like, I don't know, like the progressions he's running, we see a lot of the same stuff every week. I don't think it's going to be stuff that, like, he's going to have new stuff getting introduced in 10 weeks. Like, yes, you hope stuff gets added to it, but, like, I think if we just see him get a little bit more consistent down to down on these staple plays in the Sean Payton offense, which I like to think he can, I think the offense can be fine. Can it be really good? I don't know. I think it can be fine.
They definitely can be fine, man. And just the type of archetype that Bo Nix is, even when he's not, and all the talk about his ceiling, that's whatever. But even when he's just slightly above his floor, like the type of archetype he is at quarterback can keep an offense afloat when they're in these true obvious passing downs. And we see it when he gets to these clean bases and when he reads these things out, he's good. Like he's making the right reads. His eyes are always in the right place. And when he gets to those clean bases, he's accurate. So there are so many things that you can build off of it. At this point, it's just about stringing those things together.
Yeah. We'll get into the next play here. We've got our first RPO of the day. This was one I wrote down too, where I thought Kroll had a really nice release. I mean, again, I'm putting notes on little things, but he does a pretty good job getting vertical here. I mean, he completely takes Demario Douglas out of this play. So that's good to see. Devon Villay. Nice player. Nice player. I'm excited to see it. Like, he had some nice routes in this game that didn't get hit all the time, but like he can do some stuff in this offense. I'm really excited to get to see it.
I'm very upset with Devon Villay, though, because I had a parlay that he would go over his receiving yardage, and the last 3 catches that he got would put him over, and they all got called back for penalty. So It's not on Villay, but still, got to do better. And I'm obviously kidding for everybody out there, but I mean,
no, I'm pissed. I'm pissed for you.
Coming out in the preseason, we had that talk about who would be an X factor, year 1 or 2 guy going into the team for the next year or so, and I ended up picking Villay because I think that he's closer to that dynamic kind of weapon in this receiver room than a lot of people think he is, and closer than a lot of the other guys are. He isn't as fast, he isn't as twitchy, or isn't as quick as Mims in these phone booths, but I think he's a better yak weapon than him to this point. And I think because of the way he plays over the middle of the field, like he can break those tackles. This is like, I said it, week 1, when he had like 8, 9, 10 catches, whatever. In 10 years, when this game might be what we see posted on NFL Throwbacks YouTube channel, and there's a random big-ass receiver who's wearing like 14, 15, 16, 17 for a Sean Payton offense, just destroying teams over the middle, that guy is going to be Devon Villay. He is going to be on a lot of trivia questions in the next decade.
Yeah, I mean, and again, it's one of those things where like I think a lot of people, I was very hesitant on this receiver room, and I think, this might be a hot take for a lot of people, but this is truly, I think this receiver room, again, brace yourselves. I think this receiver room has outplayed my expectations for this year. And again, I know the numbers probably don't reflect that, but I think they're getting contributions out of guys I didn't expect them to. As we will highlight every single week, little Jordan Humphrey's like a good yak weapon in this offense, which is like hilarious and fun. Cortland Sutton, while again isn't getting the target numbers, I think Cortland's actually looked pretty good this year. Like every time I'm like, man, that was a nice route on the outside who ran it. It's like Cortland Sutton 95% of the time, which no shit, he's the X receiver. But they've had a lot of contributions from, like, again, Troy Franklin. Yes, he's had his issues with some drops, but based on what we saw out of Marvin Mims, and again, Troy Franklin was a receiver who coming out was a little undersized, or at least he was a little skinnier. He's a younger player. I think a lot of us were kind of expecting him to not get that many opportunities this season, which wouldn't be that, not trying to say, like, wouldn't be that wrong. A lot of players don't get opportunities when they're day 3 picks their rookie season, but we've seen him be a player that he can contribute a little bit. While, yes, I know a lot of people are probably a little disappointed with like what Marvin Mims has been able to do for the offense. I think a lot of us were saying, oh man, how is Bo Nix going to be able to survive in this environment with these receivers and whatever? And they've been fine. Like, again, am I saying like, oh, they have that elite weapon? Am I saying they're an above average room? No, not at all. But I'm not coming in here every week like, Jesus Christ, like people are running wrong routes, like guys aren't making, oh my God, hold on. I didn't put this play in here, but I got to go on this. Little Jordan Humphrey did not drop that pass in the end zone, guys. I know that everybody wants to say that little Jordan Humphrey dropped that 50-50 ball. But what did I just say? It's a 50-50 ball, guys. It's 50-50 ball. And the DB made a nice play on it. What are we doing here? We're acting like little Jordan Humphrey, the practice squad receiver of like 8 years. Like we're mad at him that he's not like dunking over fucking DBs. What? Come on. Not fair. But yeah, I just had to go on that little tangent because I didn't have that play put in. But anyways, let's get back to this RPO and boom, that's a nice throw. But yeah, another good decision by Knicks here, which again, I mean, this one's pretty easy money. But yeah, this was just another example where Sean has been eating these linebackers for lunch.
Yeah, and he's been doing it all season. And it doesn't really materialize on the stat sheet. It doesn't really materialize in the scope of the game, but he's been putting guys out of position all year. And I want to highlight a question because it's a really good question. Joe Brewer in the comments said, so do we want Franklin or Valet to be Michael Thomas for the Broncos? And I think Valet has a better shot at doing that because as much as Franklin has shown, and I want to agree with you here, both he and the receiver room as a whole showed me a lot more than I was expecting, especially this game. Like Franklin was a real weapon for Knicks in the offense. But I think Valet works better over the middle of the field, working off the line of scrimmage in those slot kind of roles. And I think he also offers you more in the run game than Franklin, even if it's just marginal. I think he offers you a little bit more there. And again, he offers you more in the RPO game as well. So I think if anybody is going to be the Michael Thomas for this Sean Payton Denver Broncos passing offense, it has a better shot at being Valet.
No, I 100% agree. I mean, I think, again, when we talk about where people are probably going to be playing, Valet is going to probably be that big slot guy, the guy that can kind of move around play all kind of three positions a little bit. He's going to be slant guy a little bit, probably, as we saw on that last play. Like, I think that definitely lines up a lot. And then we're probably going to see Troy Franklin playing more of that Z role. Like, he'll probably, like, again, the comp that probably made the most sense for Troy Franklin coming out, like, he'll probably end up being like a Robbie Anderson, other spelling of Robbie Anderson, or Chosen Anderson, whichever one you want to go with. But that's probably the type of player that he's going to end up kind of, looking like throughout his career. And then, I mean, they have their ex who's been kind of a sacrificial ex this season in Cortland Sutton. And I do want to kind of highlight too, just because he was a player I really like pre-draft, even though again, he's probably going to be, he might be the new little Jordan Humphrey and just live on the practice squad for the next 6 years. A.T. Perry could end up being like a sacrificial ex replacement if they aren't able to find anybody else. Like, again, I know we hope that they add a lot of weapons this offseason. I do as well, but you got to remember, like, some guys fit better in different spots. I think that if they had to add one, like, I think X receiver is probably the spot where I'm like, I don't want to say least interested, but like it's below the other positions that we've talked about. If they were able to find a huge upgrade, a big slot, tight end, running back, probably even Z receiver. And if I'm being completely honest, compared to, as we see in this offense, just an X that most of the time is a lot of times it's running clear outs or running these digs. And while you'd like a guy that's really good at that stuff, I think you're able to kind of find that a little bit easier than some of these other options. I am excited to see if A.T. Perry could possibly be a guy that just gets a couple, maybe later in the season, gets a chance to see the field a little bit, just because he does have some big play capabilities. I really liked him. This is going to sound terrible because I'm just saying I liked him. I want to see if he's out of Wake Forest. I really liked him playing out of Wake Forest. I now have to look that up, but I'm going to break down this play.
So, yeah, I mean, this is what Sean Payton has wanted this offense to be for the 2 years that they've been in here now, or he's been in here. This is the offense that he's wanted, and he's tried to implement, and he's trying to go against the trends of NFL defenses. They just want to get under center. They want to go downhill, and they want to run these downhill gap scheme, duo, power, counter, all these different things. And they haven't been able to consistently do that. They haven't been able to win at the line of scrimmage. They haven't been able to win at the point of attack for the past 2 years. And it feels like they do it in spurts. Again, like last season, they sort of struggled with their run game. Like, it was on, then one game it was off, on, off again. But this game really felt like Offensively, they performed a lot better, but this game really felt like the Browns win from last season because they just threw everything that's in their run game playbook at the Saints, and everything worked because they were just winning up front all game. No matter who was out there, no matter what play it was, they were just winning up front. They were getting pushed. They were getting what they wanted, lateral movement. They were getting everything. This is just duo. Like, this is just straight up duo insert. And they get to it under center with Michael Burton in the backfield. He's just going to insert on the linebacker, and it works. Finally, they're getting some push, and these things are working.
Yeah, and these are Haas reps by their guard. I mean, Quinn has this guy trying to two gap, and he does a good job just kind of working him off the tackle at Javonte. Ben Powers is able to get a guy to the ground. This was another good Garrett Bowles game as well. And yeah, Javonte for the past, I mean, honestly, for going on about a month now, has looked kind of like, I think, a bit more of the Javonte that we want. Is he all the way, he's breaking however many tackles a game and putting up these, big burst runs? Not necessarily, but I think we're seeing a little bit more of the consistency. And I mean, Audric Estime has really given him every single chance with the fact that he just cannot hold on to the ball. Please, Audric, you're kind of fun. I like watching you. You also hit defenders very hard. Stop dropping the damn football. But yeah, this was a pretty awesome rep to get to see and this is another Forsyth one that I wanted to highlight as well. I'm sure Patrick in the chat is going to be really liking this one. Because again, is this an incredible rep? Not perfect, but you get your hands on a guy, you're able to reach your landmark, and you're able to at least create a somewhat of a play so your running back's able to try to beat the tackle. That's enough, man. I'll take that. You're at least not letting him just run straight into the lane. Like, again, sometimes we'd see Watt kind of hang on this block a little bit too long, and then this linebacker is able to just kind of shoot this gap before Javonte's able to get there. Instead, we're able to get a little bit more push inside, like you said. Javonte's able to fall ahead for that few extra.
Yeah, it's just the theme of their entire running game that day against the Saints. Like, it really is. Everything worked. I mean, they ended the game with something crazy like 277 rushing yards or something like that. Still very upset because they didn't let Javonte get the 12 more that he needed to go over 100, but listen, take the good with the bad.
Take the good with the bad. All right, 12 seconds first quarter. All right, we get a big skip here. We got a 1st and 10 here. No, man, it's exciting to get to see Javonte kind of work a little bit. I hope he, again, I mean, I think it's so funny because I feel like for years I was the lowest on Javonte of a lot of people. And now I feel like a lot of people over caught up where I'm like, no. Like, he's still a fine player and does some things well. I just feel like a lot of people for a while were like, this is a top 12 back in the league. And I was like, I think he's pretty good. And then now it's like, people are like, well, he's fucking, I don't know if he's going to play after this. Like, again, I'm not gonna. There was a prominent Broncos Twitter account that was like, I don't know if Javonte Williams is going to be in the league after next season because he's lost all of his explosiveness. And I'm like, damn, damn. Don't get me wrong. Like, I get annoyed because Javonte Williams doesn't read out zone runs perfectly, but like, the dude is a fine runner, and as we point out, is like a fucking unit in the pass game. Like, come on, don't fucking put my guy down like that. It was crazy. Yeah. I was like sad as fuck reading it. I was like, oh my God, like, why would you say this?
Javonte could never have an explosive run again, and he's still going to have a career in the NFL because of how good he is protecting the quarterback. It's just simple as that. Like, it really is just simple as that.
I'll say it every week. People thought it was an insult. The Samaje career arc is a good career arc, bro. 8-year NFL pro? Are you kidding me? This guy's on the Chiefs this year. This guy might win a Super Bowl. He might, based on Andy Reid, he might be the Super Bowl MVP. You never fucking know. So, like, chill the fuck out. Javonte Pirine. Hilarious name. But yeah, here we got the second RPO of the game. We've got a little bit of a constraint because they've run this flat thing to, I don't know. They've run this play to the flat so many times this season. I mean, they've run swings, bubbles, just spot screen, whatever. This time we get Troy Franklin running this little release like he's coming up to block this defender, and we get the release inside.
Yeah, we're seeing so many of the things that people really didn't like to see Peyton call as much as he did early on in the season. And the reason why he's putting that on tape as much as he is, and I'm not saying he's just going to call a play that doesn't work just to get it on tape. That's not what he was doing. But the byproduct of putting those plays on tape as much as he did is now you're in week 7, week 8, week 9, and you can make those constraint plays off of it. And I think we're going to see a lot more constraint plays than we've seen to this point. And I think we're going to see a lot of those deep shots on some of those constraint plays.
Man, it's crazy seeing like the way he's like. I noticed. I thought they were just using the pullers as kind of like again that run action to kind of confuse the linebackers. They might have been setting up a backside screen here that they might show at some other point too, because it really looks like Javante's looking back for this. And man, like they've kind of got this a little bit set up. Like I almost wonder if there like is an opportunity at some point where maybe they get defenses to super overcommit to this side of the field, and they're just able to kind of do the quick little work one way, throw the other way back, like. That's a clippable moment. Keep that in mind, guys. We might see that in like week 12 or 13 because I didn't notice that until right now. But again, I mean, we're just seeing these linebackers are in hell. Demario Davis honestly does a pretty good job of at least getting back into play because this could have been like a massive gainer, possible well, probably not a touchdown, but massive gainer for Franklin. But he does a pretty good job making the catch over the middle, as we were just talking about. Might not be the best body to have, making these plays, but here he is.
Yeah, and like you were saying, those throwback screens, those have been in Sean Payton's bag since 2006. And if we don't see it to the running back, we're going to see it eventually to a tight end.
Pretty exciting. I'm hyped on that now. I'm sad I didn't notice that until I'm like, damn, like, because I always like catching that little shit where it's like, oh, like there was an option there they weren't thinking about. There was one like, and this was a miss by Knicks. I don't think I clipped it, or I don't think I have it in this list, so I'm just gonna mention it now. It was the levels concept where it was like the movement play where they had the 3 levels going across. They had, I think it was Mims in the flat, whoever in the medium, and then whoever running deep. But then they also had Adkins on the backside running just like basically like a short dig, and like it was literally one of those where like again they get so many guys committing to this level concepts because they showed it so much that Adkins is wide fucking up. You know what? Honestly, if I can get to the play, I might end up showing it if I didn't end up putting it in here because like it's one of those where it's like you see it sometimes you're like, oh, Sean, you clever bitch. Like, and I know he's sitting in his office pissed like fuck. Now I showed it, but I didn't get to actually do it. So he's just like like because there's a guy who's equally as sick on the defensive side of the ball that Sean will have to face every single week. Who's just like, oh shit, I'm gonna have somebody triggering on that next week.
Yeah, and I always feel like later, I mean, obviously this isn't like some remarkable take or discovery, but I always feel like the latter half of every NFL season is just, that's the better part of the season. Like, I hate the beginning of NFL seasons. It's just such trivial shit. I hate seeing teams start slow that you obviously know are going to make the fucking playoffs. It feels like watching, when the Patriots would start slow sometimes and nobody cared because you knew how it was going to end. But once these teams start to get to the latter half of their seasons, some of these constraint plays start to come out. You start to see who's what and the identities of different teams and different units. It's just good football.
Yeah, man. No, it's very exciting. I mean, I think it's exciting for us, especially this year, because Denver maybe interesting. Could be.
Maybe.
It could be a little fun, like knock on whatever wood you got in your house. They could be 5-3 after this weekend. That'd be pretty sick. Like, this is probably the latest I've gone into an NFL season without doing a Denver mock draft in like 7 years. Like, I have no idea who the top 5 picks are going to be. I don't even fucking care. The draft is out of my brain completely because for the first 2 months of a Broncos season, I didn't feel like shit the entire time. I actually was able to be like, they might. And again, guys, like, I'm going to sit here and say I am truly like, I believe that this team, could go on a playoff run, deserves a playoff run, and probably with how the landscape of the league is kind of shaping up, should go on a playoff run. Like, the way the team is set up, top 5 defense, and I've said it, if this offense can just be like the 22nd best offense in the league, the 24th, that's as crazy as that sounds, but that's a recipe for a playoff team. Like, that team, because first of all, that team is going to win some fucking games when it gets cold out. As teams go later into the year, as, injuries start happening. Like, guys, wait till Vance Joseph gets to go. Like, we haven't really seen Vance have to go up against, like, this Saints team didn't have a lot of their weapons. I guess actually we did see it with the Saints team, and look at how it worked out. Never mind. What am I talking about? Like, Vance Joseph absolutely shit on this team because they did not have their team. Their entire interior offensive line was out. Their receivers, their running backs, their quarterback. That's going to happen a couple more times this year. And with how Denver's built, sucks. We're going to run the fuck over you and blitz your quarterback 17 times. And we're probably going to end up scoring a defensive touchdown or getting very good field position a lot. And like, yeah. Another great run play.
listen, if they can keep up the momentum that Javonte has shown the past 2 or 3 games and really start to get the ground game going, yeah. I mean, yeah. There's the only thing that would stop them from that point to making the playoffs would be themselves. They'd have to have some sort
Yeah.
of collapse because if you have listen, even just a decent running game and a top 5 defense, like I know everybody hates to say it because we just drafted a quarterback in the first round, but I mean, that's a playoff recipe. That's
Well,
honestly a playoff team.
and Bo Nix is a huge part of the running game right now. Like
A huge part.
As much as I can complain about Bo Nix, the passer right now, his consistency and structure, whatever. Bo Nix in the running game has been fantastic. He has been so fucking good. Is there part of me that sometimes wishes he would maybe be a little bit more, I don't know, and this probably sounds crazy talking about a quarterback. I wish maybe he'd be a little bit more aggressive trying to get some extra yards, sure. But no, man, he's been protecting the ball very well. He seems to know his limits as far as when he should go out of bounds. He seems like a genuine smart runner and a good runner, and his athleticism shocks people because, as Robbie loves to put it, he's sneaky athletic. This is kind of a guy that will really help your running offense, and it seems like they're utilizing it more and more. Even if this team ends up being a team that's carried by its running game, Bo Nix will be a big part of that still. But yeah, here we got another one, and this is just we talk about. This is a whiteboard to fucking field rep. This is just exactly how you draw it up. Watch Ben Powers on this one. This is a meaty Ben Powers rep. Fucking meaty. Don't know why that's the adjective I used.
Just such a nice trap run.
Yeah.
Man, if Javonte stiff arms that safety.
Dude, there were a few runs in this game. The Bo run, there was a Jaleel run, and this one where it looked like it. And I watched it. Did you watch this one on the Prime Vision? Out of curiosity,
I can't watch. When it comes to my team, I can't watch Prime Vision. But anybody else's, I'll watch Prime Vision.
I was watching the Prime Vision, and this was one of those where it's so interesting because I like it and I don't like it. I feel the same way where the broadcast angle does have something special. Something random. I got a random little tidbit. I love my random little tidbits. I was watching a clip of 2003 Who Gives a Shit game. I don't remember what exact game it was. But it was a random clip. Some YouTuber posted it, whatever. And they were showing a punt. Did you know that on broadcast, they used to zoom in on the football as it was punted? You wouldn't see the blocking get set up. You would just watch the ball fucking
in the air,
and then it would just land in it, and then it would just be a fucking chaos. Why did they go away? I was like, oh my god, you have no idea how far this pitch is, and you're really damn, he put spin on that horse. Sorry, that was a horrible term to drop it. Whatever. And then you see it hit the returns. You're like, oh my god, this is it's like a first person shooter. I was pissed. I'm like, we're in 2024. We're just lazy as hell. We've got auto cameras out, fucking scan them across the field. Give me my punt. Give me my direct on the football punt cam back, NFL. Very random.
Some XFL shit.
It was sick. I'll find the clip. I'm gonna post. I'm this is what we need to bring back. This is also a meaty Forsyth rep, where again he's just doing a really good job of locking up these linebackers.
Yeah, and listen, he's reaching some of these guys, and that was such a big problem when Wattenberg was in the game. And not to rag on Wattenberg or talk about how bad he was, but he just struggled so much reaching these second level defenders, and it really killed the run game a lot. And Forsyth has not shown that. And again, absolutely shout out to Zach Strife, because the work that he has done on this, we really need to have some conversations about where he ranks among offensive line coaches in the league, because we're seeing Forsyth come in and show real promise as a 7th round rookie. We saw Paslewski come in and show real promise as a rookie. Wattenberg, even though it was inconsistent, there was also some good. In his second year,
exactly. Snaps, and you haven't really noticed.
In his second year as an offensive line coach, and these guys are already playing with the consistency like there's some well-knit group, and it's just an offensive line coach really sets the tone for a staff. Jim Schwartz said it. It was a coaching clinic a few years ago, I think, before he got the job in Cleveland, where when you're putting together a staff as a head coach, offensive line coach is, in some cases, more important than offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator, because a bad offensive line, you can't do anything. If you have just a bunch of chaos on your offensive line and you can't keep guys healthy and you don't have quality guys and you're rotating a bunch of guys who aren't great, that just ruins everything. It doesn't matter how creative your offensive coordinator is, doesn't matter how just insane your defensive coordinator is. Offensive line coach is one of the most important position coaches on an NFL staff. And it really looks like Sean got that one right. It really looks like it.
And what's so amazing too is I think, and I guess I don't actually know about this, but what's got to be really nice for Zach Strief is I don't think he's the run game coordinator. Like I know a lot of offensive line coaches kind of have to double up on that role. Like one of my favorite coaches in the league is Adam Stenavich, the current OC of the Packers, was the offensive line coach for a very long time. And I mean, like again, Matt LaFleur is probably my favorite head coach in the league. Oh, that I don't know. I love you, Sean. Matt LaFleur is fucking awesome. And I watched that dude, and especially the weeks he had to use Malik Willis. Like you watch how their run game is designed. Like I say, they have the prettiest designs in the run game. It's disgusting. Like the way Sean manipulates defenders is cool. The way he manipulates defenders is gross. It's just sick. Like so, and I mean, again, he has much more weaponry to be able to do it with. But anyways, just talking about like Adam Stenavich, what he's able to do for that offense outside of what LaFleur does, I think is so underrated. And I mean, again, having that ability to combine a really potent passing attack with truly just one of the best run games, and again, a quarterback whisperer coach in Matt LaFleur, like combining those things is so underrated. And again, he's one of the few, like, I don't know if I'd ever really consider him as an OC, but he's one of those OCs I look at like, damn, I'm glad Stenavich is like sitting there. And then the other point I wanted to make, and I've been Sean Payton's staff, man. I mean, we got to like, again, I've said it. I know a lot of people, if the Bo Nix, blimp ends up exploding, we'll all be looking for whoever's gonna be on the stick, who's getting Ned Stark. But freaking, I get so sad if it comes to pass because holy shit, I think outside of what might be that one decision that could end up sinking it, man, for what you want your head coach to do, I think Sean has done a pretty damn good job. Culture here, I think. It's hard for anyone, I think, to argue that the culture here is bad right now. I think after what we saw last season with guys getting frustrated on the sideline, and I think he managed that pretty damn well, that's awesome. The staff he has built is fantastic on every single level. The defensive staff right now is like insane. Jim Leonard has been such a ridiculous addition. Vance Joseph is coaching out of his mind. They brought in 2 new pass rush and defensive line coaches who I follow now on, the Twitterverse. Those dudes seem to be putting in fucking work with these defensive linemen. Malcolm Roach, Zach Allen, obviously. All of these dudes are having the years of their careers as pass rushers too, which is obviously how you make your big money. I think a lot of that has to be credited to those guys. On the offensive side, as we've talked about, Strief looks incredible. It seems like the combination of him, Lombardi, and Carmichael, it seems like we're starting to get some truly like, oh shit, you just got out game planned. You can't really do anything about that. You're fucked. Just it's special teams, whole unit. This coaching staff is fucking immaculate, and I'm going to be so sad if, in a year or 2 years, Bo Nix, poops the bed and everybody's like, we got to fire Sean Payton now. And I'm sitting here like, okay, guys, but we're going to lose like, that might not be just losing like, oh, we lose that head coach. It's like, we're going to lose like 8 to 12 very good coaches, and that sucks. So just wanted to say that little tangent quick.
Yep, top to bottom. I mean, completely from the top all the way to the bottom. You got Kerry Colbert as a wide receivers coach who, although sometimes they're struggling in certain areas of the game, the wide receivers are, I think this is one of the better groups that we've seen work the scramble drill in the past decade, and that's huge with a quarterback like Nix. I think they all get involved in the running game, and I mean that's a credit to the wide receivers coach. Exactly, no block, no rock, and that's a credit to Kerry Colbert, the wide receivers coach. We talked about Zach Strief, like you said, the defensive staff, just top to bottom. There are such good coaches, and I remember going back to when Payton was putting together the staff. It took a bit, and Payton came out and said that they're not just looking for good coaches, they're looking for good teachers. And it really seems like they found a lot of those teachers to come out and coach the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, and I mean the blend too. When you talk about, you have a lot of old hosses in that room. Like I think their linebacker coach is Greg Minuski, if I'm not mistaken, who's like a long-time NFL linebacker coach. Vance Joseph's, I mean, we talk about Vance Joseph has coached under, like his coaching tree is actually really cool because he's coached under so many different minds, and that's sick. You've got a lot of these, again, Carmichael and Lombardi, who, sometimes aren't the most popular. Those guys have been around, and then again, the special teams, you have, God, his name is slipping my mind, but guy who's been an absolute legend on that side of the field. So it's like, and then you've got all these young guys we're talking about, like Streef, Leonard, whatever. I could go on about it for hours, but he's done a hell of a job building this offensive staff. I just realized I went through this. I played this play like 3 times without having it up. So now we're going to watch it for the first time here. Mims was getting a lot of different like usage. I really liked a lot of this stuff with him being lined up just like slightly off.
Yeah, and like we said before, with a guy who's struggling to really find his game and struggling to find his route tree, if you throw him at a lot of these different spots, like he's playing the F here, he's in the backfield, and he's coming across on these little flat motions and replacing these Ys and all these different other slower, bigger body types, he can find a matchup there, and he can really exploit any matchups there. And it kind of sucks here because he got his leg tapped a little bit as he came out, but it allowed Nix to work what was behind him. And I think it's just, again, we just went on that whole tangent about the coaching staff. Something wasn't working with Marvin Mims as a receiver when he was out wide, when he was in the slot, something. What was their response? Now they got him in the backfield. They got him at F. They got him in these little different positions to try to get easy completions to him, to really just set him up. And again, this coaching staff is doing a really good job with small things like that go unnoticed.
Yeah. No, and I mean, this is just another good example where I've talked about this the entire time with Marvin Mims, where while I know the production hasn't been there, there's a lot of sneaky things that Marvin, like the way this coaching staff uses Marvin Mims is most of the time as a decoy, as a guy to draw defenders, as a guy to limit how your defense can play. And here's another perfect example. Like, yes, this completion is made by Bo Nix and Troy Franklin. Look at how these defenders react to Marvin Mims coming into the flat. Look at them. Watch these 3 guys. Oh, shit. They all just hopped downhill. Oh, God. They all just hopped downhill. There is a wide open patch of grass because Marvin Mims is such a threat downhill. This linebacker is completely committed. This corner is sitting in the flat. So Troy Franklin was able to find so much patch of grass. And again, I know Marvin Mims hasn't made the downfield plays I think a lot of us are hoping for, but man, he does a lot of this stuff, and his usage in the offense, like, you still see what he does for the offense. Like, where again, I just wanted to highlight, like, the coaching staff, I don't think, is deploying him as improperly as has been harped on for the past, 14 months. This is what you want a receiver like this to be doing, or clearing out downfield. So, yeah, good play by Troy Franklin, though. Another good throw by Bo Nix on the move. One thing I want to talk about, too, just a little thing I want to mention. Bo Nix throwing on the run, really good to the right, not so good to the left from what I've seen. That's like a big, little bit of a – and again, when we talk about this is a guy who likes getting outside of the pocket, it's a little bit concerning because, I mean, again, we see it a couple times in this game where, again, I don't think they're plays I highlighted, but the incompletion up the left sideline to Troy Franklin where he's running the corner route and he's working his way back to the ball. Bo's again, it's one of those things where I think he needs to learn his limitation. It's like, hey, if you're going to roll left, you better set and throw. You're not able to do this back foot roll left throw, the Zach Wilson combine throw, and hope that you're going to, be able to make dividends. But these throws on your right, you're fucking money with. So those we can work with.
Yeah, and the dropped interception was him rolling to his left as well.
Yep.
And what happens when, listen, we saw it Russell Wilson's very first game here in Denver when he was going against Seattle. When you're only good rolling out to one side of the field, the defense is going to make you roll to the opposite side. They're going to create these different pressure paths, and they're going to bring pressure from the right and contain you and make sure you can't still break the pocket to the right. And they're going to funnel you and force you to the left and force you to make a throw that you're not necessarily comfortable with. So it's just another thing where, it is an area of concern, and you'd like to see him kind of iron that out as the season goes on.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's again, just on it is notable because as you said, it's been kind of glaring. He's been glaringly inaccurate when he rolls left. Again, that interception was a bad football. Oh, we get to watch some Javonte Williams pass for here. This drop sucks. I don't want to make it seem like I'm doing this play to highlight Marvin Mims. This was probably just either my second favorite Bo throw of the day because there was he threw one with so much fucking anticipation that I liked it a lot. It was nothing. It was like a spot route from fucking Valet, but I don't know. Just the way he threw with so much anticipation, much like this one, got me going. Yeah, I want this a third down too. Never mind, 1st and 10. I completely lied.
It's not up. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's why we do this. Oh my god. All right. Well, I hope me describing it. Do you know what play I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
cool. Well,
yeah,
we're all on the same page.
yeah. This is a play where at the end of the second half, I tweeted it out and I was like, there's been a lot of outrage, and to a certain degree, there still is, about how the staff sees Marvin Mims in this offense and the type of things that they allow him to do and that they don't allow him to do. And I'm not trying to just make a reactionary take off of this one play. Like, this is a lot of different plays that we can be going over, and we've gone over them every single week, where Mims is just struggling in different areas of the field and different areas of the game, where there's a lot of outrage about where the staff sees him, but I think the staff is right. Like, I just don't think he's all that ready to play. Like, on the outside, I don't think he's ready to have an expansive route tree in the slot or off the ball, all these different things. And that's not a knock on him. Again, he's a second round pick in his second year. He's coming along into the NFL game, and it's not a knock on him, but I think the staff is right in some of the things that they don't let him do or they don't put him in position to do. And again, I think that's why they've put him in these different positions, like in the backfield and on as the F, to get him easy completions, to kind of work towards that and kind of streamline that.
Yeah. No, and I'd say too, I mean, again, like you said, there are things he does well. Like, again, like, this is a good route. Like, this is not, it's not like he's doing a bad job getting himself open. That is not the problem. The problem is, like, again, you need to make these plays consistently, and he just hasn't been able to do that yet. Another great blitz pickup, but I mean, again, this is just one of those where, like, we've seen Bo, when he knows which target he needs to go to, he can uncork that thing with a lot of anticipation. Like, look at, he's loading up for this thing. I think Mims ends up starting on the 24. Like, dude, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot of anticipation. Like, look at this shit. That's hot.
And he doesn't
And
step into it.
Doesn't step into it, which isn't great, but just all arms in. It's beautiful.
Nix is really, it's so weird because we're talking about him struggling in these not easy areas, but these areas where there's less conflict. And then the fucking guy comes out in 2-minute drill and just executes every week. It's insane.
If he could just do that on the opening script, because the opening script has for like 3 weeks now has been fucking beautiful. They've had like 4 open massive gainers that he's just not getting to or something. But like you said, then drive 5 comes around with 1:45 left, and Bo Nix like, all right, let's fucking do this. Like, it's like the pressure comes off, and it's like, dude, like, come on a little bit. We're like, but again, it's not like you're like, this team, it'll be very interesting seeing them this Sunday. I'm very excited. And it's good they get the Panthers. It is a little too bad because, you know, if they play great, everyone's just going to, oh, they did it against the Panthers. Who gives a shit? Yes, but it is going to be interesting seeing this team off a 10-day break. Again, I mean, I've harped on it like them. So they have a week 14 bye week, which obviously, holy shit, that's late in the season. So with a rookie quarterback, that's tough, man. Like, they're not going to get a week to kind of, you know, get to have this extra practice to get in. They're not going to have a week to get him to kind of recuperate, get some of these guys back from injury. They're not going to get that until late in the season. But they got this mini bye week this week with 10 days. So I am excited to get to see how kind of hopefully he and probably the rest of the offense have kind of settled after a very big win going into a, just like, again, this is a monumental game. Being 5-3 at this juncture in the season would be massive, especially before you have to face the undefeated Chiefs and Lamar Jackson, my favorite quarterback of all time.
Yeah, I mean, this is a time of the year where you really got to stack wins because the gauntlet is coming. I mean, Baltimore and Kansas City back-to-back is so fucking rough. That's so fucking rough. And they're both on the road, right?
I don't know, but that probably.
I'm almost positive they're both on the road. That is fucking tough, man.
And like, oh man, like you just think like it's gonna be brutal. The overreactions are gonna be brutal, and that's okay. Like, man, like you think about every aspect of it too. Like, I don't know which scares you more. Are you more scared of the Ravens just running the fucking ball over everybody, or Spagnuolo just putting Knicks in a blender?
I'm more afraid of the Ravens and their offense. I really am, because like this defense is really fucking good. This defense is really good, but there have been spurts where you can run the ball on them. And what this Ravens offense is doing with Lamar and Henry, I don't think it's going to be pretty. I really don't think it's going to be
I'm
pretty.
so scared.
And at least we got a little bit lucky in a sense that we're facing the Ravens a year after the Mike McDonald departure, and they're taking a little bit longer to come together with Zach Orr and the new defensive scheme that they're implementing there. So, in a sense, we got a little bit lucky, but it's going to take a lot to stop that running game.
Oh, Christ. Look at Javonte Williams. God damn it. He's so good. I will say, too, and I mean, again, this is another point with Zach Street, but the entire O-line, I mean, maybe you feel differently. I feel like the blitz pickups this year have been very good. Like, there have been like blown blocks. Yes, there have been some issues with some blown blocks on plays. But, like, as far as, like, when teams are sending these hidden pressures, they've been very good at picking them up. Like, this is perfect. Like, you literally pass this one off on the stud. You got Javonte here. You got Ben Powers picking up the blitzer. Beautiful.
Yeah. And
again.
Go ahead,
no, you're good. Finish what you were saying.
I was going to say a lot of the reason why these blitz pickups have been so well is because they have these auxiliary players who are so well in this pass protecting role. Like they have Javonte, they have Troutman, who, isn't the best, but he's serviceable in that area. They have these skill positions around the offensive line that can pick up these blitzes. And again, Javonte has been one of the better pass protecting running backs in the NFL thus far. Easily.
Like it's a weekly fucking thing. And again, like you can look back, like if you were to look up every Bo Nix completion that's probably gone beyond like 15 yards, probably like 80% of them have Javonte Williams just making a humongous block like that. Because like, as you're saying, he's the guy Sean Payton trusts most in the entire, not like the offensive line included, but some of the offensive linemen probably. He is the guy that he trusts one-on-one to keep his quarterback clean. There is no one, and honestly, like it's hard to argue, there's no one even close. Like again, he was using Mike Burton for a long time to do that. Javonte's just fucking better, straight up. Like, and I love Burton. You know how much we love Michael Burton, but Javonte gets after it in pass protection, and like, man, is it beautiful to watch.
He really does. He really does, and it's weird because that's not something that anybody saw coming out. Like when he was good at it in college, that's not what I'm trying to say, but coming out of college, everybody expected him to be this explosive, insane tackle breaking runner, and a lot of the time he has been. But I think like the best part of his game has been pass protection when you consider how good he's been at it relative to the rest of the running backs in the league.
It's so hard to argue. And I mean, with where the NFL is nowadays, like you need that. You need to have guys that, oh shit, it's 3rd and 8. We're facing Brian Flores. There's going to be 9 defenders coming at us and 2 guys randomly playing a zone that probably will result in an interception. You better pray to God you got one guy on your team that is just going to buckle up his chin strap and go hit that fucking safety in the hole. And Javonte is that guy. This one, this is another good play. This is the same play we talked about earlier. Well, it's a different rep of it, but one thing I wanted to highlight, and it's so funny because this has happened like multiple times. This probably sounds like I'm just like fangirling, but so often I'll like be watching a game and I'll be like, man, Sean, can you do something? Can you do this? I'm like, why isn't he doing this? And then he ends up doing it. It was so funny watching this game because I was sitting here, I was like, man, like some of this shit works so well. And I feel like we don't see it come back to enough in the same game, whatever the case might be. Like we'll have one of those plays that's like, oh shit, like that ended up being perfectly blocked. Like let's just run that a couple more times throughout the game. Might as well. They can't stop it, keep going to it. And this game was one of those where I felt that way. Like again, I think Sean Payton can get a little bit Cheesecake Factory menued sometimes, where he's just got way too much shit on his platter, and he's like, I wanna try everything. The Oreo cheesecake, the banana cream pie cheesecake, which I really like. He wants to try everything, and it's sometimes it's like, man, like just play the hits, like you don't gotta go deep in the bag, especially on a play like this where it's like, dude, this is just like, I would like to see them run this play 3 times every single week. Genuinely. It is such a good tone setter. It slows down the pressure from the defensive front. I think it's just such a, like, again, I mean, this is just money. You need to be doing this more often, but yeah, we'll get into the actual rep.
And it just works so well. Like this is a cutback that we haven't really seen Javonte hit all that much on any of these run concepts so far in his Denver career. And like he was so automatic this game. It was so fun to watch. It's so aesthetically pleasing when your team has a good day on the ground and everything works, because even though they get a guy in the backfield, he still can't bring Javonte down. He's dragging defenders once he gets to the point of attack. I mean, it all comes together.
Yeah, and I mean, it's one of those things where, again, like Javonte has always had it's a weird like next gen stat metric that doesn't really relate. Like this is gonna sound bad, but it really doesn't relate to who is a good running back or who is a bad running back. He has one of the highest time spent behind the line of scrimmage among runners. That's been his way since he was a rookie in the NFL. And that doesn't mean that he's very bad at burst, but usually that means like he likes to let stuff get set up. Like he's kind of got a Le'Veon, whichever, Bell-esque running style that's kind of like, all right, like let me let these things develop and kind of work my way through, chitter chatter through the holes, and we'll kind of make plays happen. But the issue with that has been Javonte Williams' vision hasn't been fantastic. But these past 3 weeks, I want to say it was against the Chargers game. He had a few like these too, where he is just, like you said, just this is just beautiful. This is poetry in motion. This is just jazz right here. Just work this way, work this way. You know, we're hitting the lane. Like there was like when I was watching this back, I had it paused like right here because you can see the lane. Like this is such a beautiful running lane to be able to set up for your team. And the fact that Javonte just finds his way to it is so encouraging. So encouraging for the rest of this football season.
It is. And like we said, if they can really keep at least just a part of this going, because obviously they're not going to run for 270 rushing yards every week, but if they can just keep a part of this going along with the defense they have. And, you know, he threw that bad interception against the Chargers, but since week 1 and 2, he's really cut down on the turnover plays, the turnover worthy plays, the negative plays. You know, we talk a lot about his sack avoidance, talking about Bo Nix, but that really can propel your team to the postseason. And again, I really just want to see them be able to take parts of the rushing performance from against the Saints, from against the week before, from against the Jets, and really just explore on that more over the course of the rest of the season.
Yeah, and this was another one where, again, like, and this is going to happen because guys are going to collapse down because they saw Bo Nix have the big run earlier. But you just see how Sean Payton's calls are manipulating these defenders. You've got this guy coming downhill. This is the nickel corner kind of slamming down. Demario Davis is running straight to this gap. This is a really nice play by Quinn Miners, who gets kind of initially beat off the jump by Brian Breezy, but then just has the strength and the recovery to still be able to, like, get a piece of this block and work him upfield. So Javonte is able to at least have an opportunity where, like, again, he does initially get beaten, yes, but still being able to at least make a play, make yourself a factor in there. So Javonte is able to get something going. Another good Ben Powers rep as well. And again, we're seeing like Alex Forsythe and Nathan Shepard. I want to say this is Nathan Shepard. He's an all right defensive lineman. Again, this isn't like Leonard Williams out here or some of the other like Casey Hayward, who they faced Casey Hampton. That was a throwback. Casey Hayward, who they faced a couple weeks ago. Like, no, this is not one of the like top 5-10 interior defensive linemen in the league. Yes. But it's still very encouraging getting to see like how much push they're able to get from these two guys on these double teams. And again, we see Forsythe working his way up to the linebacker, getting him out of the way. Javonte makes a nice cutback. You got a little Jordan Humphrey fan favorite getting a nice little block on the DB. And then Javonte Williams falling forward for 18 yards.
Little Jordan Humphrey is definitely my favorite.
I love him.
It's so funny seeing what he's turned into.
He's like, yeah, he's so it's so funny because I remember like as a fantasy football player for years in like 2018 when little Jordan Humphrey would have one of those like 17-point games and everybody's like, oh, Sean Payton, who the fuck is this receiver? And the fact that now it's like 8 years later and like back then I'm like, who the fuck is who is this random guy getting 4 catches for 60 yards? Like, who is this? And now I'm like, I'm the Frank Reynolds. Like, I get it now. Like, I'm awakened. I'm like, this is why, Sean. Like, I understand you. He's sitting there. He's like, how the fuck does this guy not cost me $50 million? And like, he should. Like, that's a complete joke. But like, you know, like, I get it now. I truly am. Like, man, like, I would love, like, if I was a coach, having a guy like this that he's down to just ride your practice squad, be your wide receiver 6, and you bring him up, and he's doing the, he's impactful. Fuck yeah, man. I'll take that guy every single day of the week. You joking?
Exactly.
Like, am I going to be mad that this guy has a roster spot? Hell no. Not a single day. Oh, little Jordan Humphrey. What a guy.
And he's really turned into one of the better yak threats in the entire receiver room.
It makes no sense. He's giving tips to the other guys. He's like, guys, it's this easy. Come on. Like, I'm telling you, you just got to do this. Oh, nuts. This is so random, and this is such a random timing, but I literally just hopefully Josh Reynolds is able to make a return soon.
Yeah.
That's kind of like I don't know how to say, I almost said prayers up and he's not dead. Hopefully he's doing well. Like he practiced today. Crazy storyline. How that didn't get leaked is a little bit crazy. I'm scared there's going to be some other like scary details to start coming out. But yeah, hope that guy's all right because he's been doing pretty well in this offense.
I mean, it's been a week since it happened, and we're just now finding out about it. And the guy's practicing.
I'm so confused. So was
That's
this the
wild.
fractured finger? Was the fractured finger separate?
I think he injured the fractured finger on the touchdown against Vegas.
Oh, that's right.
I'm pretty sure because he slammed it against the wall when he was sliding. I'm almost positive, but I mean, the fact that guy's practicing is shouts out to him.
Dude had the hand cast in the strip club. I probably shouldn't. Well, that's a fine joke. That wasn't anyone.
That was a good one.
Yeah, right. We're fine. We're good. Really good fucking tosser up here. And I mean, this was just really fun. This was the one where I was like, that's why you want Mike McGlinchey on your team.
Yep. We talked about it to start off the show. I mean, he's so valuable to what they do.
The dude does move. Hold on, let me get to the end zone angle. But yeah, and I mean, again, like seeing the run game work like this is just so fun to get to watch because it's just pretty stuff. And they did like, I will say the Saints made it pretty easy in this one. Like they weren't like, I will say over my like few years of being, a football, I am an odd front believer. You would not catch me in a lot of even fronts if I was a defensive coach. I would be sitting fucking 5, maybe just a bajillion dudes on the line of scrimmage. I don't give a shit. I'm so pilled and like, dude, you just can't give the offense the ability to design a play around this. This is exactly how you draw. This is 4-2-5. We know exactly what we're getting. Our guys have practiced against this exact thing. Like, you just can't. You can't. So that's where I've gotten. And yeah, this is just a hell of a rep from honestly every player on the entire team. Look at Kroll getting after it at the end of the play. Powers is working his way upfield to linebackers. Beautiful Forsyth rep, putting multiple dudes on the ground.
All the receivers play side. Everybody's bought in, man. Everybody is bought in. The results may not be there, but every single player on this offense and on this roster in general is just completely bought in to what Sean Payton and this coaching staff is bringing to the team. And it's so awesome to see. Just to turn around from one season.
Yeah. It's a really nice play by Jaleel, too, who's always so good. He's so fun to watch. Like, he kind of does, like, have that Phillip Lindsay where he's so fun on those, like, slalom runs, those, like, between the tackles, but he's able to just keep so much momentum going for himself that I always love getting to see just whoop, whoop, whoop.
Yep.
Wasn't really too much one on this one, but yeah. And this was, again, like you said, another one of those where from the broadcast, I was like, oh, go, 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 go. Oh.
Yep.
Look how hyped Lucas Kroll is, baby. Let's go, Lucas. I want that shit. Let's go. He's like, I'm going to catch a fucking seam ball later. It's going to make Frankie so goddamn happy.
I think that's one of the last ones we got, right? The seam ball?
I think so, yeah. Here, hold on. I've got
2 or 3 left?
Yeah, hold on. Perfect trap run, motion bunch time. I might have skipped one. Fantastic cut. No. Okay, yeah. Actually, that's the next play. Funnily enough, the system's getting a lot easier on me. Having the exact times. Guys, I'm figuring out. We're making moves. I'm improving just like Bo Nix. Maybe a little bit faster than Bo Nix. But here we go. Yeah, this one was just, again, when you talk about how Sean's been doing a pretty good job, and it was so funny because a lot of the concepts he ran in this one were very much just like, all right, we're just going to send guys straight. Like they were like, He was really just like, I'm just going to attack your guys' deep zones. It was actually pretty fun watching Lattimore versus Sutton in this one too.
Yeah. And man, one of the big talking points, obviously the guy didn't have a single catch. He had one target and it doesn't go down as a drop because there was a penalty, but he did drop the ball. A lot of the talk after this game was Sutton, not being able to get open. The receiver room can't get open. And I just don't think that's the case. Like you touched on earlier on in this video, like he's the traditional X receiver. You're not going to see him get a lot of these schemed throws and these schemed concepts. And maybe Sean can do a better job of giving him those. But as an X like Cortland Sutton, the only scheme throws you're really going to get, you're going to get dagger, which they've ran every single week. You're going to get the free access slant, which they fucking suck at every single week.
Bad.
And there's just, you may get a shallow here and there. Like there's not many concepts that specifically target the outside X. And on a lot of these routes, he's either the clear out or he's backside. And on a lot of these backside routes, he's getting open.
Yeah.
Like there was I didn't mark the play, but there was a play where he ran it was a blaze out. So he started vertical, cut inside, cut back outside, and he just left the defensive back in the dust. I don't remember if it was Lattimore or not, so I don't want to say it was him, but he just left the guy completely in the dust. And I just don't think that maybe the receiver room as a whole, sure, you can make that assessment that they're not getting open, but Cortland Sutton in general, he's getting open. The problem is just he's on the backside of a lot of these concepts.
Yeah, no, and I did think he did a pretty good job of beating press. Like this is probably one of the ones where Marcus Lattimore was actually able to stick on him the best, but he did. There were a couple examples where he was able to just stack on top of him, and like I want to say there was one where it was a whole shot, and he was able to like maybe you could have Nick's press to throw, but the safety was playing pretty. He was cheating over pretty hard, so I wasn't too mad about that miss. But yeah, well, getting into this one, just a really nice recognition. Let me re-say that. Really nice recognition from Bo Nix on the leverage of the linebacker and just where he needs to put this ball. Like, This is one of those where, again, like, I think when we talked about his college tape, one of the things we were actually pretty, like, complimentary of was his ability to put balls in spots that protects his receivers is, like, it's good. You know, like, that's a pretty good thing. He understands, again, how to read leverage well. Like, you want to put this ball over here so this guy's not just cracking straight into the rib cage of your guy. Does a good job of that. And an athletic catch by Kroll. Like this is probably one of the more athletic plays we've seen from a Broncos tight end this season.
Yeah, and this is probably the cleanest Bo Nix drop back of his very short career so far. Like he took, I believe it was a 3-step drop back from gun, had the one hitch, foot strike, stepped into it, let it go. I mean, if you want to nitpick, maybe his follow-through was a little bit too loose, but I mean, again, one of the cleaner dropbacks of Nix's career so far. And again,
100%.
When he has these clean bases and when he is clean in the pocket, these are the throws that he can make. And again, it's part of the reason why I'm not so just doom and gloom and completely out on Bo Nix, although the results have been, largely bad because there are these flashes when he makes things easy on himself. That's been the story so far for Bo Nix this season. He makes things harder on himself. While, yes, the receiver room isn't great, the tight end room isn't great, the offensive play calling, I don't think it's been an issue, but maybe you can say it should be a little bit better.
Hasn't been perfect, right?
Exactly. Fine. All those things can be true, but it also can be true that Nix is making it harder on himself and playing badly. Independent of all of that, all of those things can all be true at once. It's not a one or the other. And saying that isn't an indictment on Bo Nix. So again, when he gets to these clean bases and when he's easy on himself, he can make some really nice throws.
It's a fucking great pocket. I think this fucking DB was scared to get Papa Javonte Williams. But yeah, this is just again, there were a lot of plays in this game that were just like, these are exactly how you draw them up. We've got a really nice, I think they were running like a choice route over here with Troutman. Yeah, or maybe they were just having him run to the flat, whatever. You get the linebacker sitting down because he's just playing the hook zone. Kroll's able to clear it. Like I said, does a pretty good job working his way through traffic, finds the open spot, and Bo Nix delivers an accurate ball. And we've got a seam throw, which, as everybody knows, is something I pray for on a nightly basis. Just more seam throws, please.
Yeah, I think that's one of the only ones he's hit so far.
They make me happy.
I don't want to say that he hasn't really been throwing them, but he hasn't, and they've been there. I want to say that's the only one that I've seen so far, like a straight up seam ball. Like he's thrown the daggers in those kind of areas, but a straight up seam ball, I think that's the only one so far.
Well, and hey, I mean, again, if Troutman's able to make athletic catches like that, and again, that's not I think people will probably see that and say it's a gimme catch. That's not a gimme catch. That is there is like a level of difficulty to being able to make a spinning catch, being able to get upfield that quickly, whatever. But if you're able to have an actual threat over the middle of the field and on routes like that, which, God damn it, Greg, you were supposed to be that, but we won't talk about it. That opens up a lot for this offense, especially when, we've already seen it this game when they ran the RPO slant concept and you have Kroll running the flag route, just running like the 10-yard corner. He's able to get upfield so much that it pulls the linebacker completely out of position, and you're able to open up more stuff underneath and create more easy completions for Bo Nix and hopefully get him into some better rhythm so he can start hitting these shots downfield.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me hear you break this one down because this one I know you loved.
Yeah, so I mean, this was easily my favorite call of the day from the Denver Broncos offense. They're just gonna get in shotgun, and I kind of went back and forth over what I had this tagged as. At first, I had it tagged as power, and I think it still is power, but part of me thinks it's pin and pull because of the action from Lil Jordan Humphrey. He's immediately coming down and cracking back on that nickel back, and he's sealing it. And while he's pinning, the two offensive linemen are pulling. And again, we've talked about it so much that Sean really needs to lean into these quarterback runs because it can open up more for your run game and it can open up more for the quick game drop back offense as well. Like when you have a quarterback who can run and you have these concepts that can attack that, you're adding a number into the numbers game for the offense when you account for the box. Like you can count the box here. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys in the box. But when you've got 6, 7 guys across the line of scrimmage plus the quarterback, now you have an even numbers advantage against the defense. And a lot of the times you have one up on the defense when it comes to the numbers game in the backfield when you can account for these quarterback runs. So it's just huge to see them really open it up a lot more, and they really did open it up this game. I think you're muted.
Thank you. Look at how Sean Payton is eating up these defenders, man. Like he's got them in so much conflict because they've just shown, especially throughout this game, so much shit. Oh my God, we've got running backs running to the flat with what looks like a lead blocker. We've shown this look how many times this season? Usually it'd be like Burton running out to the flat with like Jaleel or something. But oh my God, we've seen this. I'm fucking Cam Jordan. I'm Demario Davis. Let me go. I got to cover this up. Oh shit. We're running fucking, like you said, we're running pin pull. And we've got little Jordan Humphrey absolutely annihilating number one here. I want everybody to take a second and just watch what little Jordan Humphrey does to number one here. Boom, you're out of the play. And then we've got Bo Nix. Oh, shit. We have like a quarterback that can run like 18 miles per hour consistently. That's pretty cool. But yeah, this is just a fantastic play by everybody. I mean, again, like I see Josh mentioned it. This is kind of what I think we were hoping to see a lot more of out of this offensive line. And this was an area I talked about where last year I think they were still living so much in that zone-oriented world. And I thought a big part of that was because Lloyd Cushenberry, their center, kind of struggled on a lot of these, well, more generic pin pull runs when it come to just having, he pins down on the one or whatever, the defensive lineman directly in front of him, then you have the guard pulling behind him. I thought he was kind of a big reason for that because he wasn't known as having a lot of that play strength. He was so much better at being a zone-oriented runner, getting lateral, getting upfield, whatever. Where now I think when you have a lot more of these big, agile bodies like Bulls, Miners, and McGlinchey are all super fucking athletic. McGlinchey's a little bit lighter in the pants. He's a bit more of a tall tackle, but Powers and Miners will knock the fuck out of you. And Forsyth looks like he's got a little bit of power to his game too, where you're able to kind of create a lot of these laterally moving runs with these guys. And I mean, yeah, this is just a dream rep right here. Really good pass off here. And then you just got, oh God, this is beautiful. Hold on, I'll just let it play. I keep pausing and restarting it.
Nixon, it looks so weird when he breaks the pocket and gets into some of these runs because it's like every single run and every single scramble looks the same. Like he always loses his footing, man. Like, and I'm not knocking him. It's just funny to watch. Like,
I wanted this one so bad. I really thought he was gonna just fucking run. And like you said, and then I saw the hiccup in the step. I was like, oh. But at least he like held on to it. I was honestly scared that fucking this dude was gonna run down and give the good old punch, and we were just gonna get a heartbreak. But luckily, he was able to, like, again, he's done a pretty good job of, hey, let me 2-hand tuck the ball right at the end here, right there. Well, probably a little late, but whatever. And then we've also got Forsyth just kind of putting a guy in the dirt.
It was just a really good rep, man.
Really good rep. I mean, again, you just see a lot of these guys are bought in. You see so many guys working their way upfield, excited to get their job done, help other guys get big plays. Awesome stuff. All right, we got one more. And this one, we're just doing one more lead read.
It'll be interesting to see if they can, tag any RPOs to that. That'd be a unique little motion to see if they can, get like a tight end to run a little pop pass over the middle of the field and, really get into some of those college RPOs.
Well, it's so funny too because that's such a like I feel like I've probably seen a clip of that being run in like Navy or Army's offense this year, just because they've actually been successul this year playing football more than usual. That sounded like I'm beating the shit out of it. Thank you for your service, whatever. But fucking like they've been really effective there. Like when I was watching this, I was really like, I mean, Sean's a sicko. Like these dudes pull stuff from everywhere. That was a little bit like, man, like it seems like they are kind of getting into their little like college football bag. I mean, again, that's probably something that they might have ran at Oregon for something like for Bo. But yeah, and then we've got one more rep of the little lead read.
Estime's looked good on so many of the small carries that he's got, but
it's a fucking tank.
It's really starting to, like, I tweeted it out. It's teetering on concerning that he now has, 3 fumbles on 9 carries. Like, especially leading up to the week. I mean, everybody thought he was going to be the lead rusher in the backfield. Like,
dude, I thought that was very, like the fact that, like, again, like this. Love you, Broncos fans. The Broncos fan base is fucking hilarious at, like, what is it? It's like the meme of the dude drowning in the bottom of the pool, and then it's like the mom holding the new baby. Where like as soon as the new toy comes in, they're completely done with the old toy. Yep. Like it happens with it's happened with 3 different running backs. Right? It's Blake Watson's time. It's Tyler Baday's season. It was Audric Estime season. It's kind of like, guys, I'll be completely honest. Like, these guys are fine. They're good players. It seems like they have an opportunity to develop into something. I don't think any of these guys are walking in the door and we're like, holy shit, we had Chris Johnson sitting on our bench. Oh my God. Who knew? Like, nah, I don't think that's happening this season. But I do love that is like the repeated thing every time there's a new player seemingly that touches the field at all. Anytime there's a pass rusher that does anything seemingly athletic, he's Von Miller immediately. I've been told Nick Benito is Von Miller so many times. I'm like, I like Nick, not Von.
Right.
But yeah,
high bar.
Right, exactly. It's always the highest bar. It's exactly like, I mean, it's the graphics we see for Bo Nix every week where it's like, Sean Payton coached Drew Brees. The Broncos had John Elway. And I'm like, damn, like, give this guy some room to breathe. Hey, man, if you're not top 10 all time, you're fucking coming up short. It's like,
exactly. That's how it works. But Estime, like, fumbles aside, like, he's looked good. Like, even in the limited amount of carries that he's gotten. Like, one thing that stands out when he gets the football is he's patient, man. Like, he'll sit at that line of scrimmage and wait for things to open up. And a lot of running backs do that and they get themselves in trouble and they'll get caught in the backfield. But Estime, like, he'll sit there, he'll ride the offensive line's movement out, and then he'll find the area. Like you were talking about earlier, Le'Veon Bell, he kind of has some of that Le'Veon Bell feel to him when he's pressing downhill against the line of scrimmage. Like, that's one thing that really sticks out about him.
I'm sorry, this is me. This is a really bad play by this linebacker. Just kind of watching him like, what the fuck? Like, I guess it's just I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like we're just giving up complete gap, and I feel like Demario doesn't cover. Whatever. Anyways, another really good rep by Forsythe, and I mean, yeah, this is just another one of these. I want to see this play called 3 times a week for the Broncos because they just should. Because it seems like a consistent way to get into some good early down offense for them. Especially, like, again, this is the stuff I was thinking about. Like, this type of offense, I feel like is going to be so effective for them inside the opponent's 40, inside the red zone, inside the 10-yard line. Like, this is the type of stuff where, like, again, you're not even risking throwing it into tight windows. Just have the one read play. Let's just see what this end wants to do here. Hey, hopefully there's someone, like, they've gotten really good, I think, on honestly both sides of the ball, like, of keying in on someone to attack every single week. I think this week they really keyed in on both Cam Jordan and the other defensive end, and then they also keyed in, I think, on the nickel DB number 1. I don't know exactly what his name is, but I think they keyed in a lot on him and I think some of their struggles to tackle in the secondary as well. Like, I think they've done a really good job at being like, all right, here's who we need to attack and doing it. You know, they pulled the good old water boy where they see the guy shaking. They're like, yeah, that's my guy. I won't say it, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if they can just live in this kind of offense that they've set themselves up for in the Saints game, like, I think they'll be fine. I really think they'll be fine.
And you get more God, I'm already talking like they already won the game. I pray to God they don't. But you hopefully get even more of a confidence boost this week going into a team that's obviously struggling. You know, a team that's flip-flopping between multiple quarterbacks and is going back to the one that they benched in the first place. You know, like we're and again, they get to then have 2 weeks against two of the strongest teams in football. But hopefully this is a game where, like you said, they can continue to figure things out and find answers and hopefully get Bo Nix just a little bit more comfortable. Because like you said, the running offense seems like there's already an avenue for them to be an average to above average rushing attack this season. As crazy as that might sound, I think that avenue is there. Where if they could just be able to take advantage and hit some of those shots, which they're close, you know, like again, and it's not anybody's one's fault. Like, again, some of the receivers have issues. We'll all remember the Troy Franklin drop. Sometimes it's the offensive line blowing a block on the interior. Sometimes it's Bo not getting to a progression or just straight up missing a throw. But they're close, you know, where I think, again, this offense can be serviceable and the defense can be elite. This team can go decently far. Well, I don't know if they go on a postseason run, but they can at least make a postseason.
Yeah, I mean, they're living in a lot more feasible and a lot more comfortable of a world offensively than they were to start the season. Like the way they were forced to call the offense the first 3 weeks, you know, Nix was dropping back 50, 55 times, just pure drop back. You know, they couldn't really get to the play action. They couldn't run the ball. Didn't really want to get to the quick game, and they were just asking the guy to sit back and operate pure drop back, and that's just not feasible. Even if he did perform well in those situations, that's not sustainable. And it seems like the offense that they're in now is a lot more sustainable if they can just keep this level of play going on the offensive line, on the run game. And it also helps out the offense just separate from the running game. Like it'll help Bo Nix because you're not dropping back as many times as you are. You can get to the play action as much as you want to. You can get these single reads and you can get these wide open players as a result of it. And I think you can really make a season out of just playing like that offensively and playing off of your defense.
And special teams.
And special teams with both units have been just shout out to Mike Westhoff and Ben Kotlicka because
the field position game every single week is ridiculous. And again, like, you know, sometimes I'll complain that like, hey man, I wish they'd go for a couple more fourth downs. Maybe I wish they'd be a little bit more aggressive, but like if you're consistently pinning teams inside the 5 or the 10 with this pass rush and this defense in general, fuck man, it's hard to argue against it when yeah, you're just probably going to get the ball back at like the 50-yard line. Like that's happened like 5 times to them already this season. And again, while Bo Nix might struggle, he can usually at least set up 1-2 of these RPOs, run plays that gets you a 15-yard chunk. Now you're in field goal range, you know, like, so yeah, no, I completely agree. Damn, I thought I had one more thing, but it's whatever. Yeah, so that was that game. We missed the Chargers game. Sorry, everybody. Chargers game fucking sucked. It was not fun to watch. Like,
yeah, it was not.
It was not fun to watch. We if anybody maybe later in the season we'll go back and do it. Probably not. But went to this Thursday game, much more exciting. Upcoming week against the Panthers. We'll watch that one next week. Yeah. Do you have any final thoughts on Bo Nix, the offense, the team as a whole right now?
Team as a whole, I really like the direction they're going, and a lot of the reason I like it is because of what I touched on and what we have touched on the entire video is just the identity that it seems they have finally found. Like they can run the ball now. And past 3 games so far, they've been okay running the ball. Against the Saints, they dominated on the ground. They have found their formations that they can lean on. They can lean on Bo Nix's rushing ability. They've really found an area where they're comfortable and they're making it into their identity. So it makes me really comfortable just with the direction that they're going as a team. I'm sorry. With the direction they're going as a team. And as far as Bo Nix, you just got to see more. Like we got to see more. We got to see more in stable conditions. That's just what we have to see.
Luckily, there is much more to come this season.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Robbie's feeling a little sick, and I was a dick and made the show go an hour and 45 minutes. I kept like looking up and being like, Christ, I've been making him go so long. I
No,
see him
you're
like,
good.
you're probably, but thank you everybody for tuning into this week. This was a really fun one. I think we're getting better and better every single week. I hope you guys enjoyed getting to watch this. I think the tape was much more, it was very enjoyable for us to watch. I hope it was as enjoyable for you guys. Maybe it's much more fun watching us get sad about Bo Nix interceptions. I don't know personally, but yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Robbie, where can they find your stuff?
You can find me over on Twitter, Robbie_NFL. You can find me here with my guy Frankie every week doing Full Field Read. You can find a lot of my other work on the Let's Talk Broncos YouTube channel. And yeah.
Frankie's film. Go check out the Let's Talk Broncos website as well. We've been posting a ton of great articles over there. All the writers on our team are doing a fantastic job with that. So seriously, Let's Talk Broncos.com. Make sure you're hitting that up, subscribe, leave all the likes. I don't know, social media stuff. You guys get it. But yeah, everybody have a great rest of your night. Thanks for tuning in, and go Broncos. Yeah, that's Oh, that's the leave button. I almost just left. All right, let me end the stream.